The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation, because you are now tuned in to the Blueprint.
Why the actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lowe's Moore, and welcome to the Blueprint. Man, I'm excited about this evening's show. I'm hoping that everyone had, in spite of this pandemic and in spite of all the things that have transpired in 2020, when I woke up this morning, I felt blessed just to be alive. And also I was thinking about during the course of 2020, when you look at those incredible numbers of the individuals that have either caught the virus or died from the virus, just incredible numbers. We continue to pray for those who have the virus or had the virus, or who's had a loved one who's passed from this virus. We continually pray, and hopefully during the course of these holidays, and I know it was a little bit different. I usually have 35 people at my house or more because I host Christmas. And we just had our basic foundation of family. And actually, my son, Lowe's the third, didn't come home this Christmas. This would have been the first Christmas in a number of, well, he's never missed a Christmas. He's always been here. And I missed him because usually he's away in California doing his acting thing. But usually comes home for 2 or 3 weeks, and we just sit around and watch movies and just talking and just catching up. And it was a little bit different not having him home. He stayed on the portal literally all day. We had sent him gifts. He opened up his gifts from his apartment, from his house, and we opened up gifts here at my house, and he stayed on all day long. I mean, from in the morning to late in the evening. Thank God for portal. Thank God for technology. So this is different, but my mom wasn't able to come over. We dropped off her gifts. As well, and was able to sit a moment with her, and it's just different. But you know what I say at this time is better to be safe than to be sorry. So whatever we have to do to stay out of harm's way, we need to do. And so I say follow the protocols. Make sure you mask up. Make sure you socially distance, and make sure you wash your hands often. And so again, thank you for your support over this year, and for the Blueprint. I'm excited every week that I get on. And here's it's a little basketball. Like I said earlier, I stole from my little figurine over there with Michael Jordan. I stole this basketball. It's really supposed to be a pebble, right? And he said, if you drop a pebble in the pond, you get a ripple effect. So each week I drop this pebble, as I just did, and I expect that each show gives off a ripple effect. There's going to be a ripple effect. There's going to be something that one of the guests say that strikes a chord in you, and hopefully helps you to add to and develop your blueprint. Because scripturally it says a person or people without a vision will perish, and a blueprint is a vision in writing. And so we should all be thinking about, even though we're in the midst of this pandemic, We should start to develop our vision boards. We should start to think about our future and our vision. And we should start thinking about how do we develop our blueprint. And so, I hope that, when the guests come on, that they express something that will motivate you to start your blueprint or continue to work on your blueprint each and every single day. So again, thank you. Appreciate you guys. Love you. I say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and happy Kwanzaa. And I'm looking forward to a happy new year. So let's get right into it. We got a lot of moving parts tonight. I want to jump right into it. And I want to start out with my book of the week. My book of the week. And the book of the week is, The Timberwolves Stalking the NBA Obsession. This is a book about Coach Bill Musselman, who I played for. Relentless quest to beat the best. I mean, I don't know anybody who was obsessed with something as much as Coach Bill Musselman was. I mean, almost borderline. I mean, maybe his son will come on and maybe he could tell you a little bit more, but I mean, this guy, when it came to basketball and coaching, man, he was obsessed. I mean, with this. I mean, he used to come to practice with encyclopedias of plays. I mean, and crazy thing was that he could walk in the gym with you and laugh and joke with you and walk through that gym door and just turn totally obsessed with getting ready to do practice and preparing for the next game or getting ready for that game. So may he rest in peace. He passed away a few years ago. And he was just a very intense person. And we just love Coach Bill Musselman. And so our word of the week, right? Our word of the week is obsession, right? That's a word you need to look up. I mean, because if there's something that you are passionate about, something that you are doing, whether it's music, art, you become a doctor, a writer, right? In order to become an effective person, you have to become obsessed with it. You have to become passionate about it. And so that's our word of the week, obsession. And next is, one of my former guests, Hill Hopper from the show The Good Doctor. Hill Hopper and Pierce Hopper, they have an affirmation moment, right? And his son is 4, and every single day they read these affirmations. You should have an affirmation when you get up in the morning. Instead of all the negative stuff that goes on the television, you have to say something to yourself to motivate yourself, to encourage yourself. So each morning have something, an affirmation that you can go to. And this week's affirmation is, my best will always be good enough. Your best will always be good enough. And as long as you give your all, every day that you wake up and your feet land on that floor, every day you should give your best. You should give your all, right? And so that's, our book of the week, word of the week, and affirmation of the week. And so we're going to jump right into this thing. First of all, I got a shout out I got to do real quick, right? I got a BluePrint shout out. Right. I just on this Tuesday, December the 29th, we're going to have a literacy night. Right. The King Movement Westchester organization here in Westchester is going to have, we've launched this literacy campaign. And on the 29th, December 29th, from 7 to 8, we're going to have an hour of power about the importance of literacy and how to become passionate and fall in love with reading. Check us out on Facebook at the King Movement Westchester Facebook page. And 7 to 8 o'clock, we're going to have 1 hour of power about the importance of literacy. So thank you. Again, thank you for your support. And we're about to get right into and introduce our guests right after this highlight. We got our first highlight I'm going to have a number of them, but here's our first highlight, and then I'm going to introduce my guest for this evening. I always believed or hoped that I'll get an opportunity to get back to the NBA. I mean, that's the reason why we played in the CBA. We wanted to make it back to the league. I mean, that's all we've been dreaming about since we were little kids. And so we play hard every night, not just for the money, but we were playing for the opportunity.
My dream was to build a large arena so people wouldn't be traveling to Boston or Buffalo or New York, Montreal or whatever to see a show. They could be right here.
As opposed to other owners who were in it for the ego gratification of I own a team, Jim was different.
The Patroons were the first thing, and Albany was just very hungry for something like that. There was always somebody in Albany that wanted to be a little bigger, and then the Patroons gave them a taste of that.
And they're going at each other with metal chairs. And then Dwayne puts his down and says, the heck with this. I'm going to my car and get my gun.
That phone call probably changed his fate. You know, he probably would have owned some major computer company today if he didn't get that phone call.
No one's going to make a lot of money here, so let's all share what the total package is equally.
As time went on, yes, he made adjustments and acquisitions and things like that, but all it took was to start winning a few games, and then the whole team and the player personnel that we had at that time bought into it.
Phil Jackson, a familiar name to everyone in basketball, especially familiar now around the Continental Basketball Association.
You're on live. Here's your chance to show somebody up in the NBA. You're worth a look. You're worth a 10-day deal. I gotta believe that really juiced these guys once the red light went on.
I honestly think I have so many good CBA memories that have made me a good coach, and what I had to do and adapt and create.
When George spoke, we all listened. We all followed his direction. And that year, 50-6, he knew what the hell he was doing. From them, I knew how to work, how to get ready for NBA season.
The incredible Albany Patroons, coached by fiery Bill Musselman.
We always thought of ourselves as not the shirt and tie guys, but the hard hat, sledgehammer, worker boot type guys, though, that we were going to go in and we were going to outwork you through defense.
I won a championship with Boston. Now this is the '86 Boston championship team. And just to show you a little bit how things have changed over the years, this was the CBA ring, which looks pretty damn good. Well, 25 years later, the Mavericks championship ring, things have changed. Things have gotten bigger. But I don't know that this could have been possible, without the experience I had in the CBA.
Well, welcome back, and man, I enjoyed that highlight. Man, it gave me a little flashback. The Albany Patroons and the mecca of the minor leagues. And I want to introduce my guest right now, and the person responsible for this film is Brendan Casey. I want to bring Brendan on, and I'm gonna add a couple of other guys. I think we got Dave Magley.
Yeah. How you doing, Lowe's?
How you doing, Brendan?
Good, man. Thank you.
We want to bring Dave on in here too, and we want to bring Ralph in here, and we want to bring Derrick Roland in here as well, and then we're gonna get right into it. Man, welcome, guys. Uh-oh. Somebody got a cell phone here. Yeah, so well, let's get right into it. Brendan, I want to start with you, and then we're gonna, Derrick, Ralph, David, and myself was in that first era, which we call the Phil Jackson era.
Sure.
Right, and in the Phil Jackson era, the Bill Musselman era, and then the George Karl era. So, Brendan, I want to start with you. I mean, what made you? I mean, I could see wanting to do a film on an NBA team, right? But CBA. I mean, what made you get excited about doing this film?
It goes back. It's so funny you talk about the word of the week, obsession, right? This became an obsession for me as I got into this project. So I'm an Albany guy. I'm from Albany, and in my professional life, we create videos and we do video work and film and cinematography. And I couldn't believe that nobody had really dug in and done a documentary on this team and this organization. So that was kind of that first idea. And I thought, well, let's just start and do a couple interviews. And the talented team that I work with, we sat down and we talked with Derrick first, Jim Coyne, who was the president, and Gary Holly, who was the GM. We spent a day together at the Armory, and they just had the best stories, and it was just fantastic. And we said, well, at least we're going to get some good interviews. And as a basketball fan and as a kid that remembers the Patroons, not necessarily that first era a little, but like I remember Musselman and certainly George Karl's era, it was just a big deal for me to sit down and talk with Derrick or talk with Gary about it or hear Jim Coyne's memories of it. But it became an obsession. And I also think about the idea of the pebble and throwing a pebble in the pond and what's that ripple effect. Now you look at that ripple effect of what you guys were able to do with that organization and how it impacted so many people. And we can't, in so many ways, basketball, a coaching tree, how you impact kids, how it impacted my life with the documentary and getting to know all you guys. So it really ties it back into the two of the items you were talking about here this week, Lowe's.
Oh yeah, definitely. And well, I want to also jump over here as you were talking. I have Derrick and Ralph, and they were part of that first era, right? They were part of that first era. And were you guys there when Dean Memminger was there?
Yes, I was. I was there with Dean when he first started out. Yep.
Okay, so Derrick, tell us a little bit about that. The Dean Memminger, and then the transition into Phil Jackson.
Well, Dean came in. He had a different perspective. I think Dean felt like he wasn't really ready to coach. He was more of a player. So he started out coaching and ended up playing, trying to play. Dean was a very interesting. He was a very interesting person. He challenged the players on the court. He had a lot of antics with himself. But that era didn't last that long. Dean was eventually let go by the Patroons, and he came back and tried out for the team. But God bless him. It was just a part of our growth and our history on our way to being who the Albany Patroons are today.
Yeah. So then the Phil Jackson era started, right? And so all of us was a part of that Phil Jackson era. So myself and Ralph and Derrick and David. I mean, what did you guys, when you first got there? What did you guys think about the team and then Phil and did you think in that first year we had an opportunity to win a championship? David, I'm gonna start with Ralph first. Go ahead, Ralph. Can you guys hear me?
I can.
Yeah, I got you.
I can hear you.
So Ralph,
Nah, I can
hear
hear Lowe's.
You can hear Lowe's? Well, why don't you drop out and come back in? Or turn up your volume. You got volume on there? Are you on mute?
No, he's not muted.
Is your computer down? Yeah, he dropped down. Coming. So Derrick and Dave, I'll start with you since Derrick just finished speaking with Derrick. David, what did you think?
Loza, as you know, I'd come from an NBA year where I played for Cleveland and played with you, and Coach Musselman was the one that drafted me. And at the time I played for Cleveland, you were leading the team in assists and scoring and they let go of Musselman in the preseason and cut you when the new coach came in. And that's when you first learned about the NBA wasn't about performance necessarily. It was about who had a guaranteed contract and who didn't. So it was a pleasant surprise when I got there, and you were already there because it was somebody I knew, a familiar face, a friend. You know, you don't really want to be in the CBA when you first get there from the NBA because you think you're deserved to be there. But the longer I was there, the more I embraced the city of Albany, and the fan base was incredible. And we had a lot of fun building a championship team. I knew we were really good. I thought that Phil's strategy of not platooning, but playing two separate units, I didn't understand at the time. As I became a coach in later years, I used a lot of the things he taught because it made a lot of sense. You know, Derrick and I played the same position. Derrick always reminds me how much better he was than me, but that is what it is. We between the two of us, we had some pretty good stats. And hey, Patrice, sorry about your auntie, but we really had a dynamic team because we were so strong at every position. We couldn't go down. You know, when you went down, Greg Jones came in, and later on when Rudy came in and kind of took my place and pushed me to the side, I became the backup to Ralph. And it didn't matter whoever was going down, someone was going to come in that was pretty darn good. And Phil really understood how to create that familial feel where I think we all got along pretty good. And it was a pretty great experience from that standpoint.
Yeah. Hey, Ralph, you like sideways, man. Should we turn?
You need a V8, Ralph.
We are talking about the CBA, and we're talking about the Albany Patriots, right? And you know, things could be a little sideways, and things may not work right. And literally, when we played for the Albany Patriots, we dressed. I'll never forget when they redid the Armory, and they actually built a locker room, right? And I think it was Derrick who took me around and showed me the locker room, and then he showed me what we were in. I think we were in a broom closet, right?
That's what it is today.
Yeah, they took the mops out the broom closet, and so it on this show tonight it could get a little wacky because see how it started, Ralph, is sideways. So Ralph,
y'all put me in the broom closet.
So Ralph, what was your thoughts coming in?
You know, it was I didn't know what to expect coming up to Albany. I wonder if I did this.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, now you get to see my dog too.
Oh, yeah, you got a friend.
That's Luca Bird.
Oh, man. I thought you was gonna name him Awesome Joe Dawson.
So it was interesting coming up to training camp in Albany, being cut in Dallas's camp and get up there and Dean's running camp. And I don't know, there had to be 90, 100 guys in camp for 8 spots. And I got on the phone that first night, called Lori and said, this shouldn't take very long. There's 100 guys here. And, just overwhelmed with the amount of talent and how a coach was going to decipher and get through all those players and pick 8 guys, you know, out of that group that was there in the Armory. And, you know, by the grace of God and a little willpower and fight in me, you know, blessed to be on that team for a few years.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me. Remember that film that was out called "The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh"?
Oh yeah,
that's what you was experiencing. Oh man, so you know, I got a highlight here. I want to show this next highlight, and let us see that next highlight on family. Let's take a look at it.
You know, a lot of kids come to the CBA for the first time in their lives, never being told they're not good enough. And this is the first time they've been told they're not good enough. And mentoring them through that anger and through that psychological depression, sometimes is the reason they don't ever get back is they react so negatively or feel like, they feel like they've been used or tricked or, they haven't fulfilled their dream. And sometimes they point the finger at other people instead of pointing it at themselves. And I thought that was always interesting. I remember Mario Ellie and I had a long talk about, his career. And I said, Mario, it's you. You have the skills and talent, but it seems like you don't want to buy into the commitment. And I remember Mario and I had a lot of wrestling matches, the times here, but in the end, he became a hell of a player for us and was really good. And I'm glad he got back. He went on to have a really good NBA career after his stint here in Albany.
Wow. I don't know if that was the family one, but yeah. So I want to talk a little bit, because one of the important parts of the blueprint is to talk about the importance of family. And so, talk to us a little bit about from Brendan into David into Ralph, and to talk about your families, talk about where you guys are now in regards to your family and the importance of it.
I'll jump in and I'll pass off to David. I think, my family, it's everything, right? And I think that's first and foremost. And knowing all you guys, I think everyone on this show tonight feels the same way. I was lucky and blessed to have two great parents and a great family life growing up. My wife had the same, and we're still close with our parents, and they're all still alive and healthy. And we just try to do the same thing with our kids, the importance of family first, faith, commitment, and just, getting up every day and trying to do the right thing as best you can. So for me, family is kind of what drives everything. It's probably the reason why I'm interested in basketball. I played a little bit. My dad would coach my brother's CYO team, some of the youth league that I played in. My father's of a certain age where if you grew up and you were Catholic, you played CYO, and it's just what it was. And that was kind of the start of basketball for him in my life. And it's been a part of what we do. We go to watch games. We go to see Patroons games to this day. And, people, it's a family event, and it's the number one thing.
Yeah.
Well, and for me, Lowe's, we as Brendan mentioned, the Patroons play in our league now called the Basketball League, and it's Derrick coaches it, and it feels a lot like it's getting to that feel like when we played. But what makes we do these tryout events called combines, where it's all over the country, thousands of kids we'll talk to, hundreds of kids we'll talk to, and at the end I tell them all the same thing. I say, listen, define wealth, don't let it define you. To me, people define wealth as money and possessions and fame. I define wealth as my relationship with my God, and I serve a risen Savior, so I'm a very wealthy man. I define it as a relationship with my wife. My wife is smoking hot after 40 years. She still looks the same to me. She's my best friend, and I'm madly in love with her. My relationship with my kids. My 4 kids keep me relevant. They let me know what time it is. They let me know what today's vernacular is, what's going on. And then my grandkids, I've got 7 grandkids. Wow. And they're my future. So when you look at that, I'm the wealthiest man that I know in the world, and I may not have any money. So at the end of the day, what I have is available to everyone if they're willing to reach out and grab that. And that's the biggest message we can share with these young people, to teach them that it's so much bigger. Our perspective is so much bigger than just basketball or getting to a higher level. We want them all to get to the best level, but if we don't give them something that helps them through life, we're missing opportunity. And I really believe that. So that's my vision on family.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Let me before Derrick. I want Derrick to go next. I want to say this. One time I hadn't visited Albany in quite a while, and I hooked up with Derrick, and I think Derrick had he had a problem with his boiler or some heat in the house or something like that, and so I was in the hotel up in Albany, and Derrick was in the hotel. He eventually came to the hotel, and then he said, "Hey man, come on, meet the family, man." I mean, man, Derrick has so many kids. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, man.
So Derrick, talk to us a little bit about family.
The Bible says be fruitful, Lowe's, and I was very fruitful. Family means everything to me. From the time I was a child, I was always family oriented. especially as I got to become older and turn into a young man, everything I did for my family. My basketball pursuit and my travels and all my desire and discipline came through a family motivation. You know, I always wanted to give a better life to my family and the people around me. So family has been a big part of me my whole life, and it still is. You know, family comes in a lot of different forms and fashion. You know, we have the Patroon family. Everybody on this video tonight, I consider us family, close family. You know, children. I have 5 children. I raised my children through sport and through basketball. My children was raised uh, through the eyes of basketball and people like Musselman and Jackson and Carl and teammates like you guys, Lowe's, Ralph, you know, Dave, you know, and people like Brendan. These are all people that are under my umbrella. You know, one of my biggest accomplishments is I have 5 children, and I'm 5 for 5 for college basketball scholarships. And I can sleep at night thinking about that. It gives us a great ability to communicate because, as you know, when kids get older, you know, communicating with their parents is a little different. So through sports, we've always had something in common, something to talk about, and we had the same interests. So I'm so thankful for my family to be where I am today, and I have so many more goals in my life. So family is everything.
Yeah, my wife just said hello to you, Derrick. And
hello, Patrice. How are you? Merry Christmas.
So Ralph, talk to me a little bit about family.
So yeah, just trying to follow up with the previous guys. In your word of the week, obsession and passion is huge in your relationships. You know, Lori and I make that commitment to wake up each morning and love each other each and every day. It's, you know, it's not going to be a bed of roses every day. It's not going to be, you know, we're not guaranteed a easy streak and just a plethora of bounty in our lives. There's going to be ups and downs, but the commitment, the passion, the obsession for each other, for our Lord God, is our foundation and sets the tone for everything else. And hopefully we've been able to raise our 2 kids. We actually have our son here with us with his wife spending December with us, and our daughter and her husband and our 2 grandkids were over earlier today celebrating birthdays. And it's just a blessing to see these many versions of you grow up and see how their lives are gonna turn out, and hopefully still have an effect in their lives for the positive, and having them to, as you said, Lowe's, to talk with your children, to have those relationships and good, bad, the ugly, whatever, but just to have those meaningful conversations with them to, as David said, stay in touch with them, learn the new vernacular, the what's happening out there on social media, and stay relevant in their lives, because I venture to say there's David's grandkids can teach him a few things, like you're doing what on the phone and how does that work, and but to have the love and support of immediate family, my wife's family, with friends, you know, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I had 5 wonderful children. 4 of my daughters earned scholarships to play college basketball. For what I have now and for what God has given me and for the things that I've experienced, I've accomplished a lot more than being in the NBA in my mind.
This time he gives it up to Murphy, but gets it right back with 10 on the shot clock. Derrick Roland for 3. And a big one. Nice looking jump shot by Roland.
Yeah, we found that family clip, man. And
yeah, thank you for that one, Lowe's.
Yeah, your shot still look good too, man.
I know, I still got it.
He did it on the first
the
take.
camera guys.
That was one take.
One take. That's right. That's all I need.
Hey, that's all we need.
That's right.
and you know, I just remember, you know, when my wife and I think, we played for a while here, played a few years for a while. Then I retired, and then we had our first daughter, Michelle, and then we arrived here, and I guess in our second, my second time here, and it ended up that I had Michelle here in Albany, and I had Sherelle in Albany, and then I had my oldest son Lozy in Albany. So Albany, you talk about family. He was building families in Albany. I mean, and it was just great, just a great time and great memories, man. It was just awesome. I think I got another clip here. Let me see. I'll tell you what that clip is. Hold on one second here. Yeah, this clip is about Ralph and his fight story.
As far as the X's and O's of the game, we're just going off of pure talent and who can take their man and make that happen. And we kind of fell into a tailspin that lost quite a few games in a row. And I think it came to a head where we're in one practice in the Armory. So this practice got kind of heated, and Mike Davis, who had played a lot of ball in Europe, our center, and Dwayne were kind of going at it in practice. Some punches are thrown, and then they pick up metal chairs and they're going at each other with metal chairs. And then Dwayne puts his down and says, the heck with this. I'm going to my car and get my gun. And it was like cockroaches when the lights came on. As soon as he said that, everybody was out, every exit door available. And I think they got to a point where they made the great decision to bring Phil in.
Yeah, I remember. Welcome to the CBA. I mean, CBA life. I'm sure we got so many stories, man. Like the time we went to, for me, we went to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, right? And when we went to Lancaster, there was only one nice hotel, and that was the Holiday Inn. And I guess Phil tried to give us a little, give us some rural life, what it's like to be in Lancaster. And he took us to that motel. I don't know if you guys remember that motel, right? I mean, I slept with my eyes open, and that's the trip I brought my wife. I brought my wife with me too, man. And literally we was just out in the middle of nowhere, freezing, in this motel, all these little rooms stuck together, right? And I can remember every time somebody flushed the toilet, we could all hear it. We could all hear everybody go in the bathroom and all that kind of stuff like that, man. It was just the worst. I don't know what Phil was thinking about back then, but I think it adds to this whole CBA experience, which becomes a very powerful situation. So, any other things you guys remember, about your experience with during that Phil Jackson era?
Well, one thing for me is, I remember it, and I tell, my players all the time, and I talk to my kids about it, how we'd have to travel across the country on a van. And there were some times where we got there just in time for the game, where we had to get dressed basically on the bus, walk right onto the court, and start the game in about 10 minutes. That's how mentally locked in we were. And we still, we couldn't beat us. But I just remember those days being locked in where it was just, nothing mattered. How long we were on the bus, nothing ever mattered to me, and I'm sure to you guys. It was just about winning. And that was the great times that we had because nothing mattered.
Well, I got another video for you. It's called the Pina Colada Story. And I thank Brendan for these clips.
We were on our way down there in the airplane, and Penny Elliott, our backup center, and loved him to death. Touch simple, but I loved him to death. We became really good friends, and I was sleeping on the plane, and he comes over and he taps me on the shoulder. He goes, Max,
What do you need, Penny? He goes, are they some fine sisters? I said, who? The girls, you know, the margaritas in Puerto Rico. I said, what do you mean? Yeah, all the brothers on the team were talking about getting some margaritas. Are these some fine? I said, Penny, that's a drink. That's not girls. But he was so excited because he just knew that those were a drink down there. So I had to tell him pina coladas was a drink too, just to make certain he didn't know what he's talking about.
I'll tell you what, Penny was just in a good place all the time. I mean, win or lose, Penny was always happy. I remember playing him one-on-one after every practice, and it didn't matter how much he was up. I would always end up talking him out of the win. Say, Penny, you know you're going to miss the rest of these shots, you know. And he was like, no, I'm not. Then he started missing. And you get in his head so easy. But God, I loved him because he was a great teammate. And then Phil's system, he was perfect because he accepted his role. He was happy if he came in behind. He started. If Andre was hurt and he started, or if Ralph fought somebody, you know, it was always Ralph fouling or fighting somebody. No one ever took Ralph out because he was not playing well. But if Ralph got angry, you know, Penny was ready. But it was one of those things that I thought he was the ultimate teammate for that system because he accepted anything.
Yeah, and Brendan, when you as you filming this, man, you listening to all this stuff. What was your thought?
You know, I guess a couple things. The first thing was that the stories lined up, right? So when you hear it the first time, like, this is crazy, but then everyone kept telling me the same story, so I knew they were telling the truth. and every time you'd get a little bit different take on these stories, and you know, as I got to meet all of you guys, and even the people that aren't on the show tonight, there was just people have a vibe, they have a presence, and everybody it was like family, right? They welcomed me in, they'd sit down, I could talk for 3-4 hours, and it wasn't a burden on anybody. It didn't matter who it was, you know, that was just tied to this team. It really there was a connection there, and just so happy to share the memories and be helpful. And you felt like you knew people. If you met them for 3 hours, you felt like you knew them for 3 years.
Wow. Yeah, I think Ralph is having some audio problems. Oh, you're on mute, Ralph. You got to unmute yourself. There you go. Can you hear us now? Yeah. So, yeah, no, I hear you. You know, that's. I got another video for you guys, man. Another clip here. Talk about the overtime win.
It tied. So obviously you're going to have this sudden death overtime. Everybody's shooting threes because they know a three is going to win. This three bounces off the backboard. This three rims out.
You know, it's been 30 years since I left as commissioner. And I remember feeling the tension and just had knots in your stomach. I didn't even care who won. I had knots in my stomach. The fans were intense.
Bay State gets the ball, shoots it.
Their best shooter has a wide open three. Phil's grabbing his clipboard, headed for the locker room, thinking we're done.
Phil Jackson knows it's going in. He's already grabbed his clipbook. He's like, well, we'll get him next year. Ball rolls around the rim, rolls out. Right into the hands of Lowesmore.
We come down, work the ball around. Lowe's has the three.
Lowesmore's got two options. Pass it off to John Schweitz, pass it off to Penny Elliott. Doesn't take either.
Uncontested, takes the shot.
Ice water, shoot, swish, game over. Patroons win.
We have life, there's a pulse. So we get to see game 4. Just so happens that Bay State fires their coach, Johnny Newman at the time. And so they're playing the next 2 games with their assistant coach leading the way. And we won game 4, come back to Albany for game 5, and I don't even think that game was close. We had that one locked up and done at that point in time.
Wow. Now I kind of remembered a little bit that after the shot was missed, I remember Phil calling a timeout. And then he used to run that play, right? That crossing play, right? And you talk about obsession, right? In that huddle, Frankie J. Sanders is like, yo, you give me the ball, man. You just pass me the ball, you know. and you got Frankie on one side, yo, man, hit the shot, man. And you got John Swipes on the other side. And he's like, man, I can hit it, man. I can hit the shot, man. And these guys are like obsessed with taking this shot. Right. And then so as we were walking back out to the court, I hear Phil say, if you have the shot, shoot it. Like that. So, I go out and I execute the play. And they cross and everything, and when they come out, they both got their hands up, like wow, and everybody knows that John and Frankie are supposedly the best shooters, So I'm going to pass the ball to them, but I knew all the time I was going to shoot the shot. It's just the way it happened, and I said if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose with me shooting the ball, not everybody else shooting the ball, but. Yeah, we went on to win the championship, and that was just an awesome time. I mean, talk to me a little bit about Ralph before we go into this next segment. Talk me a little bit about what what that year meant, that whole experience playing, and Ralph, talk to me a little bit about that.
That was after coming off the first season and having. I mean, we were talented that first year, but it would have been interesting to see Phil work with that group of characters that first year. He put the team together in year two, getting everybody to buy in that the good of the team is going to be the best for everybody. And probably an anomaly in the CBA at that time, but we liked hanging out with each other. We were friends. It was not just, hey, show up at the gym and do your business. But we actually enjoyed practices, talking with each other, just becoming more than just teammates. And then to see everything progressed throughout the year of the team coming together, playing better ball, having a great home record, skating through that first round against Bay State. I think once we got through that, I think we were all on the same page that, okay, let's get the conference finals done and let's get to the championship and win this thing, because we knew we had the talent. We knew that if somebody is down, there was going to be somebody else to pick us up, and we were happy for each other in the successes that we all had on the court, and I think that was huge.
Yeah, that was an awesome time. Oh, there we go. We were some young guys back then. Hey, let me say this, that about Ralph, man. I mean, it was amazing playing with Ralph. Well, playing with everybody was great, but you knew at the end of the game, if you threw it to anybody, you were going to get a result, right? And I think for me, I had the ultimate confidence in everybody that I had the opportunity to pass the ball to. But Ralph always amazed me. I mean, he wasn't the most athletic guy, but he figured out how to play. He knew how to play. He knew how to get that shot up. He knew how to get that foul, and he knew how to hit those big shots when they counted. And so Derrick was the same way too, man. If you give it to Dr. D, right? I don't understand why Derrick or Ralph didn't get an opportunity, to get in the league and spend a few years there. David and I did. We had that experience, and for me, being with the Albany Patroons in that year, and all the years that I was there, but being with the Patroons was just a great experience, man. Just an awesome experience. So, anybody got anything else to say about the era, the Phil Jackson era, before we kind of move on?
Well, I think one of the things that was interesting was, we forget Phil was 38 when he coached us. Phil wasn't in his 50s. he still played, and Charlie played. Charlie Rosen, his assistant coach, author, best friend. So we had if we didn't have enough guys for practice, we were getting a couple of bruisers in there playing, and Phil couldn't quite move like he used to. So he was wiry, strong, and he would. It wasn't a fun day when those two guys came and played, but they were still out there, with a lot of juice left in their legs a little bit, and it was kind of fun knowing that we had coaches that knew how to play, and Phil was pretty darn smart.
Yeah,
and that elbow, that pointy elbow.
Yeah, I still have a bone to pick with. Charlie hit me with a back pick in one practice, and I turned around and blasted him, and he goes, "Don't be mad at me. Be mad at your teammate. He didn't call out the pick." I don't know who it was, but I mean, it's one of those things. You're like, I may be sore for a couple days with that one, and I mean, Charlie was big and thick, and he's like, "Not me. It's your teammate," and basically it was. And but like David said, great being able to play with those. I mean, and learn from Phil. When I was in Europe, I had the opportunity to talk with Phil a number of times. I think this was one year in Germany. We were in a slump and hadn't seen the sun in about a month. And I'm like, Phil, man, we're struggling here. And he said, y'all need to get a team bonding event together. You probably haven't seen the sun in a while. Go do something where you get some exposure, they had these schwimmbad type places with pools and hot tubs and solariums and saunas and all that. So we got the team to put a road trip together and pulled that off. And lo and behold, something clicked and we started playing better. So Phil was always a great resource to be able to pick his brain about something to, on the court, off the court. I still use his visualization of find a place before the game to, run through the game in your mind, see yourself being successful on offense and defense. And I had Spanish teammates looking at me like, what the heck's he doing over there? And I was running through the game, what I was going to do in this situation, that situation, and kind of got some of those guys to buy into that as well. But then it became second nature when you're out there on the court.
And one of the things that I remember is the way we executed. I mean, it was so much fun because everybody did exactly what they were supposed to do when they were supposed to do it. And playing for the Patroons under Phil Jackson and Bill Musselman and George Carl, I just remember all those teams we executed at a very, very high level, and that made the game easy and it made the game so much more fun. So I remember those days where it would just happen. We couldn't stop it because we executed so well, and that's the stuff that makes the game a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. And it one of the powers of that Albany Patroons, that 10-year span of Albany Patroons has to be, for me, had to be the fans. I mean, Mike Tyson. Occasionally we see Mike Tyson in the arena, and shaking hands before he became the Mike Tyson. He would be in the arena, and also my favorite all time was Fritz. I think we got a picture of Fritz. I mean, he was there. Fritz would always do his dance. I don't know. There you go, right there. Fritz right there. Fritz used to do his thing, right? So he was the man. I mean, and you love Fritz, and it was Paula and Pat Riley. They were in that picture with Ralph, with Ralph on there when they had no shirts on and stuff like that. And we
don't need to show that.
I think Pat and Paula in there, and it was just crazy. I always say, like, welcome to the CBA. People ask me about the CBA, man. CBA was just like being in the NBA first, and Dave was in the NBA first, right? Everything was just first class. So if you were there and in the NBA, and then you go to the CBA, right? And you use the first class. Well, of course, the CBA is not first class, but it's an opportunity to hopefully get back to that first class. And I mean, you go for a game and then you have to fly to Atlanta to fly back into Albany. I mean, you probably had to save a couple of dollars on the fare. You could fly to Canada and go over to Atlanta and then come back to Albany. And I mean, you were in the CBA. So if you got an opportunity to go up, I didn't look for people to come back, because after you experience the CBA, you're going to go up there in the NBA and you're going to play hard, right? And you're not going to come back to the CBA. So it wasn't a bed of roses, right? But it's where we had an opportunity to hone our craft, our skills, right? And also the fans were just so amazing, man. To come into the Armory, you couldn't help but. I mean, there were times in the CBA where I just like, man, I ain't going to play no ball, man. I don't want to go over there, And then when you get to the Armory, man, and the people are yelling your name and they're right up on you and they're right next to you and they slapping you 5 and slapping you in the shoulder, and then you go at halftime, right? You go to halftime, they in the same bathroom with you. Right? You come out that broom closet. Then you go to the bathroom and then, hey man, good game, man. You guys got to do better. You can't even take a leak with nobody around you, man. It's just welcome to the CBA.
But they had about, I don't know, was it 25 to 50 fans went on that plane with us when we flew down to Puerto Rico. I mean, what level of basketball has that kind of fans traveling with you? That's to that picture. That was in Puerto Rico where they're traveling with us. They're having us to their homes for dinner. They're treating us. My wife was pregnant, and I actually left the team to go home to have the baby and came back, and it was like the team baby. Everybody asked about it. They just loved on you and made you feel special. And we probably outdrew Cleveland. When you and I played for the Cavs, I think we have more fans in Albany than we did in Cleveland. That was for sure. You couldn't count them as easy, because I'd be sitting next to you going, how many fans do you think they got? I don't know, about 800. And so I'd start counting them because I knew I wasn't getting in.
Right. And I could see my kids as I'm playing being passed through the crowd.
Yeah.
Oh man. So we're gonna have a pop-up guest. Each week we have a couple of pop-up guests, and so we want to pop in this guest here. Coach Call, how you doing, sir?
Good morning, good afternoon, gentlemen.
George Call, what's up, George?
What's going on, Derrick?
Lord, this is a real pop-up guest here, buddy. This was a real good one here.
we got a legend in the building.
I don't know about that.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, Coach, how you doing?
My life is good. Kind of, COVID has slowed me down. Not as much fun, but I'm still enjoying life. Christmas was, virtual more than in person with my family, so I missed that. But hopefully the vaccine is going to take place and we get back to normal.
Yeah, and we all praying for that, Coach. Definitely. We're praying for not a new normal, but a normal. I mean, so, but Coach Carlin and I go way back. I mean, before I came to the Albany Patroons, I was in Montana. I was out there. I thought it was Malibu. I said, I'm flying into Malibu, man, until I landed. And then, and I looked around and saw those snow-capped mountains and those tumbleweeds running around out there in Montana. I realized I wasn't in Malibu, that I was in Montana. So,
and I want you to know, Billings, Montana was a metropolitan area compared to Great Falls, Montana, where I was at. Great Falls, a good night out was at TJ's Bar and Grill, drinking six Coors Lights.
Yeah, and I was out there. I had never been on a snowmobile, so Sam Clancy stayed out at a farm. You know, he had a I don't know how he got an apartment. I stayed in a hotel. He was out in the woods in the farm we had barns and cows and he would invite us out and we get on the snowmobiles, which was dangerous. It's something you don't do when you play basketball. But I was driving a snowmobile in the middle of the night, man. You know, and we zooming past each other. It's like 3 or 4 of us zooming past. Welcome to the CBA.
Lowe's, were you in the game where Ronnie Valentine got hit by Sam Clancy?
Yes.
That was one of the hardest, worst punches I've ever seen. I mean, everybody knows the Rudy Tomjanovich punch.
Mm-hmm.
But that punch, I was scared. Because I remember it happened right in front of our bench. He got hit. I ran out in the court. And before I got there, his face was already swollen. Yeah. I can still remember to this day that Bennett Salvador was refereeing that game. And Bennett went on to have a great NBA career. And I always told Bennett, I said, just remember that punch. You didn't call a foul on that punch.
Yeah, and Sam was a big boy. And,
Sam went on to be a football player.
NFL football, yeah. He went to play NFL football after that.
Cleveland Browns.
Yeah. He had a great career there. And but Ronnie Valentine, that guy could play. Ronnie and I go back. We graduated high school together, so we was in all the All-Star games together. And just the nicest guy, played with a lot of intensity. I don't know why Sam hit him, but yeah, that wasn't good.
Ronnie was a great scorer. It was one of them. He was really I thought he was an NBA player, except he never figured out the right chemistry or the right pickup. And but I think that was my first year in Great Falls, and you guys beat us in that first round. I think we won 5 games. It was game 5 when I think the punch happened.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, it was crazy. It was a crazy time, but it was competitive. I mean, you had a great team, man. Terry Stotts.
That team had Willie Smith, probably.
Smith.
That'd be my second year. Maybe I had Robert Smith.
You had Robert Smith. I remember Robert. U.S. Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had just picked up Jackie Robinson from Vegas because we lost some guys in the league, and it was a well played series. Other than the tragedy of Ronnie getting his face smashed.
Yeah, that was great time. So, hey, Coach, talk to us a little bit about the Albany Patrol.
Well, I think the thing I like to talk about is just what I don't like about the NBA right now is I like what's going on in the NBA with the G League, but so much of my foundation of coaching I learned in the CBA. I mean, I was an assistant coach for a couple of years in San Antonio with Doug Bowe, and I went up to Great Falls, Montana, and every year I had a different team. Every year I had different personalities, and then in the middle of the year you could lose 2 or 3 of your best players because they're homesick, they go to Europe or they go to the NBA, and you had to change your personality. And I think a lot of my versatility in the NBA was learned or taught to me out of necessity to be successful in the CBA. And it was crazy, as you said, but what I liked about Albany was the city of Albany loved that team. And there was probably a few other cities like that in the CBA, like Rockford and maybe I heard La Crosse, maybe South Dakota. But Albany always had this connection with their team that not many cities had, and they still do. I mean, Brendan, you have success in bringing the history of the Patroons to the people, and there's still a connection. Pat Riley probably texts me 3 or 4 times a week. And, Steve Sharina and Don Bassett. And we got on a Zoom call the other day with Gerald Oliver and kind of connected with all the guys that were hanging out. And Vincent Askew has, always been in my life a little bit hanging around. He still seems like he wants to hang around. I know he was back in Albany about 10 years ago, or I don't know how long ago. But
The Armory will be something I will always remember. And then the second year I was here, we played in the new building. And we didn't lose a home game. And that was the year we tried to beat the record of 48-6 that you guys had, or Musselman had at least. And we had to win the last, I think, 15 games of the year to do it. And I lost a lot of players. Terry Stotts started as my assistant coach, ended up being a starter on the starting lineup. And then Albert King came in, drove up like 2 days before our season started. And at the end of the year was playing really important minutes for us. But that was probably one of the more fun years of my life, 50-6. And of course, not winning a championship was a little disappointing, but I have a piece of my heart in the people of Albany and how they supported the team and also me.
Well, Coach, I want to thank you for popping on, man, because I'm gonna text you this week, man, because I want to get you on the show where we can just talk basketball, right, for an entire show. So I just wanted you to pop on, to just get your perspective. So I want to thank you, man, for taking time out of your schedule.
Well, give me a couple of weeks of NBA basketball, and we can talk hoops. Seems like the NBA just started off a couple of days ago, and I watch games every night. I'm still addicted to the game, love the game, passionate for the game. So love to have you back. Love to be back on when you lose, whenever you need me.
All right, Coach. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach. George, take care, buddy.
Yeah, we got one more pop-up guest. Yeah. Well, let's see if we can find them. Maybe he got lost.
Lowe's, while you're looking for him, Derrick won the championship in our league a couple years ago, and he did it exactly what George said. He made adjustments. He played the championship series with 5 guards, and it made all the difference in the world. He lost the first game by 36, came back and won the second game in overtime, and then won the championship in what felt like the old Armory when we played. He had recaptured that spirit, but he made the adjustments that George speaks about, which is what this game offers people is that level. You have to make adjustments.
Yeah, you do.
Right, exactly. And the thing, with me was, it's like I didn't reinvent the wheel. We've a lot of success, coach, and after playing for George and Bill and Phil, going throughout the years, I just do. It's the same formula, so it works. You have to understand how to treat the players, understand how to motivate your players, and get the right people. Being out in the community is really part of being an Albany Patroon. We have this list that we call being Patroon ready, and this list covers every base that if you can check all these boxes, you should be ready for life at any level. So, and I just do that, and hopefully we can continue to do it and have the same level of success.
Yeah. And you know what? The one thing that the CBA, it was humbling.
Right.
Particularly, if you had success, like a lot of my career had success, always basically started and so forth and so on. And so I did in the CBA as well. And I learned a lot, particularly with Bill Musselman. That was a whole experience by itself. Being with Bill, man. That was Derrick could tell you. I think we have
yeah.
An hour and a half go real quick when you think is a long time. But can we show that footage on I think Derrick, Roland, and Bill Musselman? I want to talk about a little bit.
And I were good friends, and Bill would always try, because we were the number 1 and number 2 scorers on the team. He came off the bench and I started, and so he would always try to look for stuff to keep us motivated. So one night we were in Florida, we were somewhere on the road, and he sends the trainer to my room at 2:30 in the morning, and I'm asleep. I'm like, wow. He says, he knocks on my door and says, the coach want to see you in his room right away. I'm like, the Knicks done called. I'm getting the call up. I'm happy, I'm getting dressed. It had to be. What else could it be? So I walk in his room, and he's in there watching game film, like this. He's just watching it. He goes, take a seat. Well, Coach, what's up? He goes, didn't I tell you in order for us to win a championship, you're going to have to support Tony Campbell as well. He's going to have to support you. He says, I found something here that's very disturbing to me. I go, what? Me and Tony are best friends. I go, what? He goes, I found a segment on this tape where Tony scored a basket and you didn't clap. And he's telling me, he's ripping me a new ass. He's ripping me. And as the tape rolls back, it shows me clapping. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Look, I'm clapping. He looks at me and he goes, oh, okay. You can go back to the room now. And he let me go back to the room. I'm thinking this guy is nuts. But that's Bill Musselman. You know, you couldn't beat him. You could not beat him. And that is a fact. You couldn't beat him. He was too prepared. I mean, you know, he had about 100 plays. He knew the stats 20 years previous to your college career. He knew your stats. So he was vicious, and he was a great coach and a great leader.
Yeah. I mean, Ralph, you didn't get a chance to play with Bill. And Dave, you didn't get a chance to play with Bill. And Brendan, you got a chance to talk to Eric, right? You got a chance to talk to Eric. So what was you interviewed Eric? What was his thought on his dad?
You know, the concept of family, obviously father son, and it was, you know, you're speaking to someone that knows his father as a coach and as dad, right? So he saw both sides of it. You know, he told a story that he was coaching against his father in the CBA, and I don't know which team his father was coaching. Maybe his father was coaching one of the teams in the Midwest, and so was Eric. So Eric's team is down at halftime, and their locker room is next to Bill's. And Eric goes nuts on his team. He's throwing chairs. He's screaming at his team, this and that. So they get ready to go back on the court. Bill pulls Eric aside, says, I'm really concerned. You can't talk to your team like that. This is no way to behave. You can't be like this. Leave me alone, Dad. We're competing. They go out. Eric's team comes back. They win. They beat Bill. They go back to the locker room. Eric's fired up. His team beat his father. This is a big moment. He hears into the next locker room his father just going twice as crazy as he was going at halftime. So they're both competitive. They both want to win, and totally believable. But they bonded and they spent time together. And you look at two guys to have success in the college ranks as coaches, in the CBA and in the NBA. I mean, there's very few people that have done that from a coaching perspective.
Yeah, I remember one time I wasn't starting for the first time in my CBA career. I wasn't starting, and Scotty Brooks. We had a great team. Scotty Brooks was playing, as well as Sidney Lowe. Sidney Lowe, Scotty Brooks, Michael Brooks. Me and Derrick, Tony Campbell, Scott Roth, Todd Murphy. And man, we just had such a great team. Michael Ray Richardson. And I just remember, sitting on the bench, and I heard Bill from the sideline. I heard Bill call me. Lowe's, like that. So I jump up, I jump up and I run to him and say, "Go in the game." And as I go in the game, the horn sound. I walk in the game. I walk on the floor, and then I hear the horn sound again. And I see Bill waving me back towards him. And I come over to him. I said, "Yeah, coach." He said, "Sit down. You're not ready." I'm like, "What?" I'm like a seasoned veteran, man. I've been in playing for a long time, man. He just took and sit me on the bench, man. It was just a wild time. At the end of your career, you don't want to experience that at the end of your career.
No, you don't. Man. I missed an offensive rebound. My man got an offensive rebound. He sat me down for the rest of the game and the next game. For one play, if you one play, you get one shot with him. But we had our bench was better than the starting teams for the starting units for the other team. So that's how he coached. He always kept the next man up, ready to go. So
he brought me down to Tampa to play one game because he had lost a bunch of guys, like Coach Carl said, to fights and to this and to that, and there was only 6 of us. So he had to play me the whole game. and I had my best game as a CBA player. So he got excited and he said, "Well, I need to sign you for the weekends because I had a real job." He said, "You could just play the weekends the rest of the year." The next game I came back, everybody was back. He didn't play me at all. And it was like, I don't know, Coach. Listen, I appreciate the extra $500, but I don't really need it that bad. I'd rather go home and be with my wife and kids. But it was like, out of the blue, he was begging me the whole week, "Mags, I need you, I need you, I need you." And then the next year, he got the job like with Minnesota or someplace, and I'm going, "Oh, I messed up," because he took all of his CBA guys to Minnesota. That could have been my shot.
Oh man, and I remember, Phil Jackson wanted me to come out of retirement. Right, I had retired. And this is before I came back. He said, "I'm bringing in Mike." He called me up. He said, "I'm bringing in Michael Ray Richardson, and I want you to come back because I think you can keep him under control." I'm like, "What am I?" Man, Michael Ray Richardson, and so it didn't happen. He didn't bring him in. But the next year, Bill Musselman brings in Michael Ray Richardson. So it's like the first couple of we're in practice and stuff like that, beginning of the season. And Bill liked to talk, right? Bill really liked to talk more than he liked to kind of practice almost. He liked to hear himself talk. So we're sitting on the floor. He said, "Have a seat, guys. Have a seat." So he's just talking. I see Michael Ray Richardson out of corner of my eye. He just gets up, and he's just pacing in the back. He's just pacing and pacing. So Bill's looking at Michael Ray Richardson pace behind him. He's looking at Bill. He's like, "What? Looking at Bill?" And all of a sudden, Bill says to Michael, he said, "Michael, you got a problem?" He said, "Yeah, coach. You talk too much, man." Oh man, I mean, that CBA was just an incredible experience. You probably wouldn't experience any of the things that we experienced in the NBA. It was just different. It was unique. It was family, and we were surviving. I don't know about you guys, but we were literally, when you got kids and a wife, man, you surviving, man, So we coming close to this end, and we were looking for Charlie Rosen was supposed to be on. I guess Charlie's not equipped with technology.
He can't figure out how to put that on his flip phone.
Hey, Lo, before you go, I want to give a couple of shout outs, obviously to you and Ralph. But first, I'm going to start with Brendan Casey. The job he did on that documentary was incredible. I've been here in the Patroons basically from day one, and the way he covered it, the footage, it was just an amazing thing, Brendan. So I really want to thank you for that. That's a lifelong legacy, seeing that, understanding that, and being a part of that, man. So what you did was an incredible thing.
Thanks,
I'm sure
Steve.
everybody feels the same way about that, man. That was an amazing job, man. And take my hat off to you. I knew a lot of those cold nights in the Armory wouldn't go unnoticed. I'm glad somebody put it together because we had some incredible nights, fellas, as a team. I know you remember. And I just want to say, Dave, as the commissioner, the owner of the TBL, man, you've done an amazing job. I mean, I remember from day one till today, a few bumps in the road, brother, but I mean, you and your wife have definitely taken this to another level. You've given so many people an opportunity, the players, each team has 10, 15 players that they're associated with. So you've changed the lives of a lot of people, and it hasn't gone unrecognized. So you keep it up, man.
Thanks,
and I'm going to try to win another championship this year, man, so I can get another ring. So let's keep it moving.
34 to 36 teams will be a little harder, but
it's going to be a lot harder, Dave. But hopefully I ain't got to play them all.
I believe it. No,
we don't want to play them all, but it's been an incredible journey for me. I've been in this, man. Some guys I've basically been involved every time there was a Patroon team. I've been here, and as I say, it's not winning or losing for me. It's the impact that I have on people. I mean, the history that we started and where we are today. I walk down the street, people bring that up. People are crying, you know, it brings back memories. So, guys, we have created something very, very special. And I'm so thankful that the legend lives today. So, looking forward to see what the next chapter is going to be.
Yeah. And I just saw a picture of Rudy Mack. Hey now. And Dave, talk to us a little bit about you know, the league that you started, and yeah, talk to us a little bit about that before.
Well, we're unique because we're the first and only league to be owned by a female African American, my wife. Now, I might be straight up the most experienced white man in black culture you'll find, but I've never been black a day in my life, and I don't know what it feels like to walk in a store and have somebody look at me because of the color of my skin. My children do. I don't know what it feels like to have my heart race when the police car siren goes off because I might have driven through a stop sign or a sped, but my kids do. And my wife brings a vision that's all about community. And it's really, how do we get these guys? Derrick and his patroons do a wonderful job in the community with the schools and, you know, taking his guys to be active. And we have a chance, especially now, those more than ever, with the lack of fathers in some of these communities, to give affirmation to young people. And if we teach these young people that play for us how to use their celebrity in the right way, not just to use it to get girls, or, like we all know what the world is like. But if we could say, man, life's bigger than that. If you could teach these young men how to do it the right way, then it's going to benefit their life and the lives that they touch below them. And so we have a unique vision. You know, when COVID hit, we shut down our season before the NBA did. And it looked like we were going to be in real trouble because, quite frankly, most of my teams are on payment plans. At the end of the day, today we've grown from 12 to 36 teams in that time frame. And all I can say is that a lot of fasting and prayer, and God gave the increase. And we went out and just started blowing it up because we took the extra time we had to tell the story. And then when teams started signing up, they're going, wait a minute, we don't even know if or when there's another season. It didn't matter. People wanted to be a part of that vision. And I think we're building something that's going to have a really lasting lifetime because our brand doesn't cost that much to manage a team. Like Derrick said, he won't play all 30 plus teams. He'll play the teams in the pod in the Northeast, and that's 6-7 teams. So it really makes a big difference where we're at. And I think we're building something that's fun. So thanks for asking.
Right. And so Brendan, tell us what's next, because we think that this film, you know, this product is just great. I mean, inside of it, is more than basketball, because we spoke about a number of things. It's about faith, it's about family, it's about community, and it's about guys who really love the game of basketball, and men like coaches who enter into the CBA with a hope and a dream, and it tells a story of those coaches and those players and those communities that have come together to bring about a successful 10 years of the Albany Patroons. And what's next, and how do we get more people to see this?
You know, it's this has been like just a wild ride for me in starting out this project, talking to Derrick the first couple of days, interviewing everyone that we've interviewed. And I'm lucky enough to work with some of the greatest cinematographers, editors, motion graphics people, and you guys have seen in those clips, that really make it work. One of the challenges that I found is trying to navigate distribution, whether you think about things like Netflix, Amazon, those type of things, getting in front of the right people. So I'm trying to find the right outlet for the film to where we can get as many people, as many eyeballs on it as possible. And this is a situation for me, is not about money. It's about, I want as many people as possible to hear this story. And if we make the decision that, hey, look, we can put this out on, on YouTube, and that's going to be what it's going to get the most eyeballs, then we do that. There's been a couple of really smart folks from, it was Slam Magazine, now it's Slam Online, who have an interest in this. So I'm talking with those guys, trying to get this thing going, and hopefully get some distribution. But, I know I can't thank you guys enough, everyone on this call tonight, and the rest of the folks in the film. It's just been, it's been something that I never would have thought I would be a part of. And I'm just happy to be a small part and to tell that Patroon story, because it needs to be told. And I will say this, from being here in Albany, I just want to give a shout out to Dave and what he's done with the league, because he's the hardest working man in professional sports. His wife might be the hardest working woman, but he's number 2 right under her. But they brought this back, and Derrick put his nose to the grindstone, won a championship. And pre-COVID, they were bringing in going to be close to 3,000 people, just like you saw in those the footage of what it was like when Phil was here. So they're building something, and I think the roots are still here. And you should see when Derrick walks into North Albany Academy and they bring school kids into the gym, what it means to those kids to talk about literacy lows. These are all the things that it's not even about basketball. It's not. That's like a secondary thing. It's about giving people lessons in life, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. I can't thank you guys enough.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, I always say that basketball is just an instrument. It's a platform, and many guys that I've coached, over the years, I always say, if you become successful, whether it's in high school, college, or professionally, what will you do with that platform? Because each and every one of us have been born with a purpose and a gift that goes with that purpose. And it would surely be a waste if I played basketball, or either one of us played basketball, and we just thought about fame and money, right? And we didn't think about the impact that we could have on the lives of other individuals. And for me, when I think about the rich tradition of Mount Vernon, and I think about guys like Gus Williams and Earl Tatum and Rudy Hackett and all those great players that came up in Mount Vernon, that showed me more than basketball. It showed me family. It showed me the camaraderie. It showed me that they were willing to take me when I was a little kid, right? When I was a little kid, and inspire me. And hey, we got Charlie that jump on in the last few minutes. They go, Charlie. Now, the Charlie Rosen story, right? The Charlie Rosen story. Of course, you couldn't, back in the PBA, you could only have one coach, and you couldn't have an assistant coach. So Charlie had to become a trainer. And so that's when I stopped taping my ankles. When I found out Charlie was the trainer, I said, no more ankle taping.
I think everybody stopped getting them tape lows.
I remember one time, I think it was Penny Elliott. We were on the road, and he went down, and I'm sitting there watching him, and Phil says, Charlie, you're the trainer. Go out and do something. So I went out and took a look, and Penny was bleeding. And I said, no. I don't want anything to do with that.
Oh, man. And I mean, in those road trips with Charlie and Phil, listening to the Grateful Dead while, listening to the Grateful Dead with a bunch of 10 guys or 8 guys in a van driving in the snow, Phil driving, trying to do a crossword puzzle in the snowstorm, and listening to the Grateful Dead music. Man, that wasn't what brothers really wanted to do at that time. But Charlie, I wanted to bring you on. We only got another minute here.
Oh.
Yeah. We were trying to get you on since 8 o'clock.
Oh, man, I think I didn't press the right button or something. I don't know. Hey, I'm gonna be 80 in January. You got to give me room to act like a senior citizen. That's all I can say.
Well, I think it was Derrick who said, man, or Dave who said, man, you can't get on StreamYard or with the flip phone. So, guys, I want to say thank you, man. You guys are awesome, man. We were talking about family earlier, and you're all a part of my family. Right, you're part of that extended family, that closeness that we see, that we've learned to grow into, and I appreciate each and every one of you, man. And Brendan, we became family when we started doing this. I did the interview and stuff like that, and you started doing the film, man. It's just a pleasure, and pleasure to know each and every one of you guys. I love you, man, and unfortunately we got to jump off, but thanks for taking time out your busy schedule, man. And maybe in the future we'll do this again, and we'll do a part 2. Right?
Love you guys. Love you, Charlie.
Love it.
Yeah,
everybody. Merry Christmas.
Hey guys.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode.
Derrick,
of
you
Lowe's
look
More, the
a lot
BluePrint
older
podcast.
than you did
Stay
before you
connected
started
and
coaching.
follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke. Insufficient funds for insignificant.